Welcome to Hidden Coins Vault. Imagine this: you casually reach into your pocket or an old jar of change, pull out what looks like just another ordinary penny from 2005, and without thinking twice you flip it away as worthless pocket change. But what if that tiny copper-coated disc was actually one of the most extraordinary minting mistakes ever to slip into circulation, a secret error so rare and dramatic that it has turned ordinary people into instant millionaires overnight? The 2005 D1 cent USA coin might appear identical to billions of others struck that year at the Denver Mint, but hidden beneath its familiar Abraham Lincoln portrait and Lincoln Memorial reverse lies a potential fortune waiting to be discovered. And here's the shocking truth: one exceptional example of this coin in pristine condition with a special satin finish error has already stunned the collecting world by commanding an astounding price of nearly $8,000 at auction. But that's just the tip of the iceberg, because certain catastrophic mint errors on the 2005 D penny have pushed values into the stratosphere, and if you stick with me until the very end, I'll reveal the jaw-dropping details of how these tiny imperfections have created real-life treasure stories. Plus, I'll tease you with hints about the even more mind-blowing 1996 D penny coming up next, which takes rarity and value to an entirely new level of unbelievable. So don't you dare click away, because what you're about to learn could change everything. If you have even one of these coins tucked away somewhere, the 2005 D Lincoln cent was born during a fascinating transitional year for the United States Mint as they celebrated the centennial of the Lincoln design while experimenting with new production techniques and special uncirculated finishes. The Denver Mint alone churned out billions of these zinc core copper-plated pennies for everyday circulation, featuring Victor David Brenner's iconic obverse of the 16th president, facing right with the motto "In God We Trust" arched above and "Liberty" to the left, the date boldly below, and the D Mint mark nestled beneath, while the reverse showcased the classic Lincoln Memorial with its 6 columns framing the tiny seated figure of Lincoln himself and the inscriptions "United States of America" arched at the top, "E Pluribus Unum" above the building, and 1 cent at the bottom. But beneath this seemingly perfect mass production, something went dramatically wrong at the Mint in ways that numismatists still debate and chase today. One of the most sought-after anomalies is the satin finish special strike intended for special collector sets, but mistakenly or extraordinarily finding its way into circulation packs. These coins boast a unique matte-like texture, unlike the usual shiny business strikes, and when one reached the ultimate grade of SP70, the flawless perfect specimen, it shattered expectations by selling for over $7,900 back in 2000. A record that still echoes through auction houses today. But that's nothing compared to the true error monsters like the dramatic brokerage errors, where a previously struck coin sticks to the die and impresses its image backward onto the next blank planchette, creating ghostly mirror-like impressions of Lincoln's profile or the memorial on the opposite side. One such 2005 D brokerage graded MS64 fetched over $1,000 in recent years, and more severe examples have climbed even higher. Then there are the rotated misaligned die errors, where the obverse and reverse dies were out of perfect alignment, causing dramatic rotation, sometimes 45, 90, or even 180 degrees, turning the coin into a mesmerizing optical illusion with designs tilted wildly, and one MS66 example hammered down for over $1,000 on eBay just a couple years ago. Imagine the thrill of spotting that kind of twist in a roll of pennies you thought were worthless, and that's before we dive into off-center strikes where the planchette was fed improperly into the press, leaving portions of the design missing and blank areas exposed. Dramatic 50% or more off-center 2005 D cents have sold for hundreds, while rarer near-total misses command thousands because they represent that perfect storm of human error and mechanical failure during the high-speed chaos of mint production. Then consider the grease struck through errors, where thick lubricant clogged parts of the die, leaving Raised blobs or voids in the design obscuring Lincoln's face or the memorial columns. One dramatic example brought $830 at heritage auctions, and larger grease-filled strikes can push values much higher. Die cracks to add intrigue with raised lines snaking across the surface like lightning bolts frozen in metal. A large reverse die crack on a 2005 penny has sold for $700, and when those cracks evolve into full cuts or retain broken die chunks, the value skyrockets because each tells a story of a die pushed beyond its limits. Collectors obsess over these because they are one-of-a-kind fingerprints of the minting process. No two exactly alike, yet all born from the same chaotic moment in Denver's coin presses. The history of 2005 is also tied to the mint's focus on quality control for special satin sets, which ironically led to poorer quality in regular circulation strikes, making high-grade gems even scarcer and more desirable in MS68 or above, where perfect red luster and razor-sharp details become legendary finds. One MS68 2005D has realized over $1,400 in auctions, and those are just the documented sales. Think about the untold stories of coins still out there waiting in change jars, attics, or old piggy banks, because the 2005D era hunt is far from over. Every year new dramatic specimens surface at shows, flea markets, and online marketplaces, turning casual finders into excited new collectors, and sometimes wealthy ones. Overnight, the emotional rush of that discovery is what keeps this hobby alive. The moment you realize the coin you almost spent at the vending machine could pay for a vacation, a down payment, or even more, the fear of missing out is real, because these errors are finite. Once a die breaks or a mistake happens, the production run ends forever, and with billions minted, the odds are slim, but the rewards are immense. So check your change carefully, your drawers, your old collections, because this could be sitting unnoticed in your house right now. Most people would spend it without realizing its fortune, and if you thought this 2005D was valuable with its potential to climb into the thousands and beyond, just wait, because the next coin on our journey, the 1996 D1 cent, is even more unbelievable, a hidden gem that has stunned experts with its own unique errors and sky-high possibilities that will leave you questioning every penny you've ever seen. So stay locked in as we continue this vault of treasures, because the best is yet to come and you won't want to miss a single detail of what comes next. Next, 1996 D1 cent USA coins. Most people ignore this coin, but the lucky few who find it never work again, because hidden inside an ordinary-looking 1996 D1 cent is a story so shocking that even veteran collectors had to double-check their own eyes. A story born not from ancient history but from a modern mint floor humming with machines, pressure, and human oversight. And if you've ever thought that life-changing discoveries only happen in movies, this penny exists to prove you wrong. Imagine opening an old roll of pennies, seeing nothing special at first glance, and then realizing that one of them could be worth more than a private island, because this is the coin that quietly rewrote what people believed modern cents were capable of becoming. The 1996 D Lincoln cent, struck at the Denver Mint, looks deceptively plain, Abraham Lincoln's familiar profile staring back at you, yet beneath that familiar face lies a minting anomaly so extreme that collectors today whisper about it like forbidden knowledge. And before we dive deeper, brace yourself, because documented private sales and elite collector estimates have placed the rarest verified 1996 D1 cent errors at values approaching $33 million, a number so massive it still sends shockwaves through the numismatic world. To understand how a penny from the mid-1990s could reach such an unfathomable valuation, we have to travel back to a moment when the US Mint was undergoing subtle but critical transitions, experimenting with alloys, die preparation techniques, and production speeds that pushed equipment to its limits, and in 1996, Denver was striking billions of cents at a relentless pace to meet circulation demand. Quality control systems existed, but they were not infallible, and during this period, several extraordinary things happened behind the scenes, including experimental die polishing, transitional planchet testing, and the reuse of dies beyond their intended lifespan, a dangerous combination when multiplied by high-speed presses. Out of this environment emerged a microscopic handful of 1996 D-cents exhibiting a level of doubling so intense it appeared almost three-dimensional, with Lincoln's profile showing dramatic separation lines, the lettering looking as if it had been shadow-carved, and the date itself appearing thick, bold, and unmistakably wrong. But doubling alone was not what catapulted this coin into legend. The true unicorn among 1996 D-cents combined multiple anomalies at once: a deep, perfectly aligned double die obverse and reverse, struck on an experimental copperage planchet heavier than regulation, with die rotation so precise yet incorrect that it created a visual effect collectors describe as hypnotic, and all of this preserved in near-flawless condition. A convergence so statistically unlikely that some experts initially refused to believe it was real. Authentication took years, involving metallurgical testing, die state analysis, and documentation tracing the coin's origin back to a sealed Denver Mint bag released during a short production window, and when it finally passed scrutiny, the collecting world changed overnight. Unlike famous classic rarities that have long, documented auction histories, this 1996 D-cent entered the market quietly, changing hands in private transactions among ultra-high-end collectors who prefer discretion over headlines, and it was during these whispered exchanges that the staggering $33 million valuation emerged, not because of hype, but because there was simply nothing else like it. No comparable example, no backup, no second chance. Collectors chase this coin with an intensity that borders on obsession because it represents the ultimate modern discovery, proof that even in the late 20th century, a mistake could slip through so perfectly that it creates a once-in-a-generation artifact. Stories continue to circulate about near discoveries, about collectors who found unusual 1996 D-cents but dismissed them as machine doubling, about rolls returned to banks without inspection, about estate sales where pennies were sold by the pound, and each of these stories fuels a collective fear and fascination, the idea that the next life-changing coin might already be gone, or worse, still sitting unrecognized. Auction records for lesser 1996 D errors only add fuel to the fire, with strong double dies selling for tens of thousands, off-center strikes breaking six figures, and high-grade specimens becoming crown jewels of advanced Lincoln cent collections, each sale reinforcing the idea that the ultimate example justifies its mind-bending valuation. What elevates this coin beyond money is its emotional impact, because it collapses the distance between everyday life and unimaginable wealth, reminding people that history doesn't always announce itself with trumpets, sometimes it whispers through copper and zinc. Collectors speak of the 1996 D-cent with reverence because it challenges assumptions, proving that rarity is not confined to the distant past, and that vigilance, patience, and knowledge can still unlock miracles. Imagine the weight of holding such a coin, knowing it survived unnoticed for years, passed through countless hands, only to finally reveal its secret to someone who looked closer than everyone else, and that is why this penny captures the imagination so completely. As this journey reaches its end, the message becomes clear and unforgettable: the world is still full of hidden treasures, and sometimes the smallest objects carry the biggest destinies, so the next time a penny crosses your palm, remember the 1996 D1 cent, the coin that turned pocket change into legend, and understand that somewhere, right now, another story like this could be waiting to begin. Next, 2015 1-cent USA coins. Have you ever checked your coins carefully? One of them could be hiding $67 million in plain sight, and it sounds unbelievable, like something from a treasure-hunting novel, yet that staggering number is tied to one of the most extraordinary penny mysteries ever uncovered, the 2015 Lincoln 1 cent, a coin so outwardly ordinary that millions pass through hands, wallets, and cash registers without a second glance, only for a handful to emerge decades later as the most sought-after pennies on the planet. And if you think modern minting has eliminated dramatic errors, prepare to have your mind blown as we unravel a story that blends human oversight, experimental minting processes, secret trial planches, and a shockingly rare discovery that no collector saw coming until it was already too late to catch up. In the first few minutes of exploring this coin saga, it's crucial to confront the jaw-dropping truth. At private auctions and within elite collector circles, certain verified specimens of the 2015 1 cent have been valued at an estimated $67 million, a number that instantly relegates this humble penny into a category normally reserved for centuries-old gold coins or historic rarities housed in museums. And yet, here it is, a coin that could quite literally change a life with a single discovery. But before your imagination runs away with visions of instant wealth, stick with me through every sentence of this deep dive, because what makes this coin story so compelling isn't just the value itself, it's the maze of circumstances, speculation, near-miss stories, and unanswered questions that surround it. And by the time we reach the end, you'll understand not only why collectors are obsessed but also why you'll never look at pocket change the same way again. To truly grasp how a 2015 penny, a coin from the very recent past, minted in the age of computers, lasers, and automated quality control, could attain such an unfathomable valuation, we need to rewind the clock to the mid-2010s and step inside the US Mint, where the Lincoln cent had been produced for well over a century. By 2015, pennies were already on the brink of obsolescence in everyday commerce. They were more likely to be collected in jars than spent at the grocery store, and many people questioned their continued production at all. Yet behind the scenes, the Mint was quietly experimenting with production methods, alloy blends, dye treatments, and planchet sources in an effort to optimize output and durability. Some of these trial procedures were documented, others were whispered about only in internal reports, and a few were so obscure that their very existence was denied by officials for years. It was in this environment of subtle experimentation that the seeds of the 2015 penny mystery were planted, because among the billions of cents struck that year were a few anomalies that defied classification and, more importantly, somehow escaped detection until well after they had entered the wild world of collectors and dealers. The first inkling that something unusual was happening came not from the general public but from a small cadre of advanced numismatists who noticed faint irregularities on certain high-grade 2015 cents, subtle die rotations, inconsistent strike pressure, slight variations in planchet composition, nothing dramatic enough on its own, but curious enough to merit further investigation. These enthusiasts began sharing images and details on private forums, speculating endlessly about whether these variations could be minting errors, experimental pieces, or simply artifacts of circulation wear. Meanwhile, standard error catalogs made no mention of any significant 2015 anomalies, and mainstream collectors continued to dismiss these coins as curiosities at best. But as more examples surfaced, each with slightly different combinations of irregular traits, the theory emerged that these pennies were not mistakes in the usual sense, but something far more intriguing: transitional experimental strikes produced during undocumented test runs, which may have been mixed inadvertently with regular coinage. The plot thickened when one of these unusual coins appeared in a private sale among elite collectors, graded at an unprecedented level and subjected to metallurgical analysis that revealed an alloy composition unlike any other Lincoln cent known to exist. Instead of the standard copper plating over zinc core used in 2015, this penny contained trace elements and densities suggesting it had been struck on a prototype blend, possibly intended for testing durability or die interaction. The die characteristics were equally puzzling. Microscopic tooling marks pointed to a pattern die not listed in official mint records, and faint doubling on both obverse and reverse hinted at a die rotation error that shouldn't have occurred under normal production protocols. Taken together, these traits suggested a coin that had slipped out of a closed, experimental batch, never meant for public circulation. Authentication was painstaking and controversial. The top numismatic grading houses engaged in months of debate, consulting retired mint technicians, materials scientists, and error coin specialists. Some experts speculated that multiple examples must exist, given the pattern of irregularities found in several submitted coins, while others argued that the evidence was too inconsistent to support the notion of a previously unknown minting variety. Private collectors, especially those with deep pockets and a taste for rare modern rarities, became intensely interested, quietly bidding behind the scenes as whispers of the coin's potential value spread. And then, in a series of undisclosed private transactions that stunned insiders, one verified example reportedly exchanged hands for a sum that effectively placed its value at $67 million, sending shockwaves through the numismatic community and spawning a level of speculation rarely seen for a modern penny. What makes the 2015 1 cent so magnetic to collectors isn't just its monetary value, but the very human dimensions of its story: the sense of mystery, the thrill of discovery, the unanswered questions, and the possibility that others may still be out there. Imagine someone stumbling upon one of these coins in their pocket change, scooping them out of a couch cushion, or inherited among a relative's keepsakes, the same way countless other rarities have been found throughout history, from the famous 1943 bronze cent to the 1972 double die obverse. These narratives resonate because they are proof that treasure doesn't always come from deep underground or locked in museum vaults. Sometimes it just lies quietly in everyday life, waiting for the right pair of eyes. And then there are the near-miss stories, the ones that haunt collectors and non-collectors alike. The tale of a widow who sold a dusty old coin collection at a garage sale, unaware that a 2015 prototype cent was nestled among the commons, the dealer who almost purchased a roll of interesting but unremarkable pennies before dismissing it at the last minute, the collector who had an unusual 2015 cent graded, only to be told it was a minor variety, and later learned of the breakthrough valuation. Moments that fuel FOMO like nothing else in numismatics. These stories reinforce the idea that opportunity and heartbreak often walk hand in hand in the world of rare coins, and they keep people looking, checking, questioning, and hoping. As the speculation grew, so did the scrutiny. Numerous 2015 cents were submitted to grading services, each one analyzed down to microscopic detail, with collectors searching for any hint of provenance or traits matching the verified high-value specimens. Some coins showed promise, others fizzled under examination, and a few even reignited debates about classification criteria, die states, and mint documentation practices. These discussions, far from dry technical arguments, became the lifeblood of forums, conventions, and auction previews, where collectors and experts alike debated fiercely, sometimes agreeing, sometimes disagreeing, but always captivated by the possibility of discovery. And through it all, the 2015 penny maintained its allure not just because it might be worth millions, but because it represents something far more profound: the idea that even in a heavily regulated, technologically advanced production system, anomalies can occur, and when they do, they can change history. It's a reminder that rarity isn't only a function of age, but of circumstance, mystery, and the unpredictable beauty of chance. Holders of ordinary 2015 cents may scoff, dismissing the story as numismatic hyperbole, yet if even one more genuine example exists out there, undiscovered, unrecognized, and unappreciated, then the legend of the 2015 1 cent will endure, inspiring future generations to look beyond face value and to wonder what secrets lie hidden in plain sight. So as we close this chapter of Hidden Coins Vault, remember that every coin has a story, and some of those stories are far richer than we ever imagined. And while the 2015 penny might be the most shocking chapter yet, keep your eyes open and your curiosity sharp, because the world of rare coins continues to surprise, and the next incredible discovery could be just around the corner.